so good. My camera's working. I was really, really concerned if it was going to work. Let me put comments up. Before I do, though, I want to test out this. Okay. Well, I need to get my microphone by where I need to be, but now you can see the other angle. I've been trying to adjust that. Good enough. Oh, and you can see into my, you don't need to see into my furnace room. See, from this angle, if you were watching the show the other day where my friend Daniel Lutz was saying, my studio is a lot smaller than it appears on camera. This is why. It's a corner of my basement. And for those who were curious, yes, that's wallpaper. It's not actually cement. Anyway, we'll go back to the illusion. Illusion. All right, let me put up the comments. 1 second here. And as you notice, I need to take Lutz, but do donate to Daniel Lutz. If you enjoyed that show, he's a good Libertarian candidate running for House District 49 in Colorado, lutzfor49.org. But we're going to take that off because that's from an old show, but you can see, and it's kind of hard to see, isn't it? I'm going to need to put that maybe on a white background, but you can see my social media things up above. Facebook, MeWe, if that still even exists, and the Twitter, because I turned out to be a much bigger fan of crap posting than I ever thought so. All right, let's put up, here we go. Let me move this over. Let's see where that angle thing is now. We move this over. Let's see this. Yeah, this is still in my face, but you get a much better view of the studio here. Alrighty. Okay. We are back on LP News. It's been a minute, hasn't it? And we got so far behind that we're on the first episode of May, June LP News. And we're already at the end of June 2022. So we're going to be speed rushing through LP News over the next few days so that we can start afresh with July, August, once we hit July. Depending on how I feel after today's show, I actually haven't been feeling well. I have really a lot of food issues. A lot of people don't know. After I eat, I'm in tremendous pain. It's one reason how I was able to keep my weight down is because I don't like eating. But today, all I had was an ice cream cone, so I think I am narrowing it down that I might be developing lactose intolerance. Oh my God, I was in such pain after that ice cream cone earlier today. Anyway, y'all don't want to know about my old lady health concerns, but I want to do the LNC recap tonight too, but I don't know how I'm going to feel. And I wanted to do LP News. So, along the bottom is my grifting. If you enjoy this content, please do consider becoming a patron. I did fall a little bit behind. You know, after convention, a lot of people, had a really good push to support me to be vindicated. And I thank you very, very much. So now I just need to build my regular support base. Oh, and somebody asked me for the color of the nails. So now you can see. But anyway, if you can afford it and you enjoy this content, please do subscribe at patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. I did drop in Patreon the next installment of The Problem of Political Authority. Oh, he says, check my sound. It's quiet. Is this better? Let me know if this is better. No, I'm on this mic. So let me know if this is better, Hayden. I do appreciate when people let me know the sound is quiet, but let me know if that's any better, because I don't think this mic is on. Yep. So when I'm switching between mics with guests, I do have another, as you all can see in this shot maybe. Yeah, I do have another mic over there, but I am on the right mic. All right, thank you so much, everybody. I'm glad you let me know. Daniel Lutz, who was on this mic last time, must be a lot louder than me. So, patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. I just did upload the latest installment of The Problem of Political Authority. So good. And I am now on to chapter 2. And boy, I'm just in love with this author. Even though he's not a deontologist, we will forgive everyone their minor transgressions. What's left? What's left? Oh, the merch store. I am going to be uploading some new merch. Going to be taking down some of the Reno stuff. But if you still want to get a Reno reset shirt or things that really had to do with Reno, get them now before I pull them down. I'm probably going to be pulling them down this weekend. So tinyurl.com/Pink Flame merch. Last of the grifting. 2 last things. Please subscribe. I've had a really good growth for me, because this is a smaller channel, you know, very niche. But if you like this kind of content, you really do help me out if you hit subscribe. So please do that, and like and comment and all of that good stuff. And the last part of grifting is all super chats matter. And where'd I put my rum? This is the last of the rum. Your super chats help keep me in rum. No, but more importantly, this is actually getting a little bit serious. I do have a couple interviews next week. I am trying to work out a job where I can still put out as much content, because this is what I eventually want to do, at least part-time. But I do have some interviews next week, so things are looking up in that department. However, there is an in-person L&C meeting at the end of July. Flying to Alexandria from Denver is ungodly expensive. I can fly to Alaska for cheaper than I can fly to Alexandria. Plane tickets round trip are $700 for Southwest. And the reason why, so please don't get in some cheap site and tell me, oh, you can fly in the luggage compartment of Spirit for $200. I have to bring a lot of equipment with me to L&C meetings, plus shoes. A girl's got to have her shoes. But I bring a lot of computer stuff. There's a lot of things you need to do the secretarial job. Southwest gives you 2 free check bags. When you average out the price, Southwest is cheaper. So, and I had a little bit of a credit with Southwest that I need to use. So please don't go price shopping for me. I'm going on Southwest, and unfortunately it's a $700 round trip and plus hotel. So super chats do get put towards that. If you prefer, some people really don't like that because of YouTube, get in touch with me. I really could appreciate some support right now. Now, let's just get to the content. This is exciting content. I'm not going to be able to keep comments on the screen when we're going over the actual issue of LP News, because as you know, I put the issue up on the screen. And Southwest is awesome from Denver because it's a hub. It's actually usually cheaper from here, but for some reason, flying to the belly of the beast DC area from anywhere in Colorado, it's just terribly expensive. Going the other direction is super cheap. Like, God, the flights to like LAX and stuff, oh my God, super cheap. Even to Alaska. But going to Alexandria, well, I'm flying into DCA, which is, I think, Reagan. I did price out Baltimore and Dulles, but it was cheaper to Reagan when you factor in Uber or whatever else, because Reagan is only 5 miles away from the headquarters right around. Anyway, so this is an exciting issue. Normally I have a hard copy of the issue. Oh, maybe I do. Do I have that book here? I was going to say, I really like having a hard copy. 1 second. I need to look over here. If you can still hear me. Do I have that? Nope, I don't. I was hoping I had a printout of this issue. As you can tell, we do have a floating floor in my basement. We have expansive soils here in Colorado. People freak out on my basement when they come down here because they're like, why do you have a wood floor in your basement? Most people are used to cement. When you're in an area with expansive soils, there's like a probably 1.5 foot crawl space underneath the basement, which is creepy. It probably lives down there. We all float down here, but you have to do that so that there isn't foundation cracking. So that's why the floor bounces when I hoof it around my studio, or Wayne comes hoofing it down here. That was a little bit of a sidetrack, and now I'm creeped out wondering what's beneath my feet in the crawl space, because we have a sump pump and everything. It's gross. That's probably going to make an interesting screenshot. Yeah. Anyway, so I like to have a hard copy of the LP News. Our printer is broken. I hate our printer. May I tell you all the ways I hate our printer? We got one of those. I'm not going to say the brand name because I'm not here to like shit on a company. But we got one of those printers that has the wells, the ink wells rather than the ink cartridges, because we were like, oh, we're going to save all this money on ink because you can refill it. It just doesn't work. It's a great idea, great in theory, but it doesn't work. Buyer beware. I'm not even going to say the brand name, whatever. So I couldn't print out my LP News. So I had to bring down my old MacBook Air. Yes, birds aren't real. God, there's some old stickers on there. Look at the Radical Caucus stickers that are almost obliterated. But anyway, so I'm going to have to be reading the LP News instead of from paper from my laptop. Anyway, let's now pull up the issue. Oh, we're not going to yet. I need to drink some rum. My God, this is good rum. This is the last of it. It's the cherry vanilla Captain Morgan's spiced rum. Remember, I'm always whoring for super chats. Anyway, why is this such an exciting issue of LP News, which I wish we didn't have to rush, but I'm going to do an episode a day until we get through it. I'm not going to do a marathon tonight. I'll take the time I need to take with it. But this is a mega issue of LP News. Why? Because it is the 1974 June issue. The 1974 convention in Dallas was coming up. Excuse me. It's the second convention of the party. They had their first convention in 72. And their second convention in 74. And Ryan Brown mentioned my birds aren't real sticker. Every time it's on the convention video with that sticker, pictures, screenshots of me make it around all of the birds aren't real forums. They're like, check out this national secretary. She's a little weird with the pink hair, but she's got the birds aren't real sticker. And there was, and thank you for the super chat. Oh, and Michael B. thanked me for my content on the Neoliberal podcast. Thank you. I think I did do the longest breakdown, but of course I'm very long-winded. But my God, was that terrible. Like, there was nothing redeeming about it. Like, nothing. It was just a piece of crap, wasn't it? I'm trying really hard this show, A, not to cuss, to keep it monetized, but B, I am streaming this on a bunch of other channels other than my personal page. And those channels, you know, it's not my typical audience where they're used to me having a lot in common with sailors. We're not going to do that this show. We are going to be very, very family friendly and stay monetized. So yes, it was the second convention, which is the Dallas Accord, as Ryan Brown mentioned in comments. Oh, I had a funny story to tell you about the 2022 convention, and birds aren't real. So we had a photographer there, photographer/videographer there, who wasn't a libertarian, who was really puzzled by my laptop sticker and thought this was like a libertarian thing. Do you guys really not believe birds are real? I love it. I love it. Totally love it. Okay. So now we are going to get into the issue. Now that you know the backdrop, it's leading into the Dallas Accord. What's funny about this, funny not in a ha-ha kind of way, funny in a interesting kind of way, is what happened last convention, just barely a month ago, will be a historic convention in the history of the party. Whether you like it or not, it is. As I've said multiple times, and Justin O'Donnell sent me a graphic, history does not care about your feelings. It's a historic turning point, whether or not you think it good or bad. 1974 is another one of those historic turning points. 2006 was another one of those historic turning points. So, in 1974, less than 100 people completely changed the direction of the party. People are so, I don't want to use a cuss word, their hindquarters are very upset. Their hindquarters are chapped that over 700 people changed the direction of the party in 2022. That's pretty good, considering less than 100 did it in 74. And guess how many people did it in 2006? And a lot of those same people are the people who are complaining today. I want to tell you something I do, and I might start calling out some names. Not on this show, like this, not on the history podcast, but I don't like hypocrisy. In 2006, which was the moderate takeover of the party, whether you like it or not, I don't like it, but history doesn't care about my feelings either. 2006 was the moderate takeover of the party. Guess how many people were at that convention? Total. Not how many people supported it. How many people were there total? About 350. So don't go crying to me about over 700 people changing the direction of the party, particularly if you were one of that 350 that supported deleting the platform. And guess what? I have the ballots from 2006. I know who you are. And some of you folks who are kvetching on social media about how terrible it is for a caucus to organize and change the direction of the party, I see you. I know who you are. And some of you are the same ones who voted for the platform deletion with under 350 people in Portland. And you notice, I don't complain about Portland. The Reform Caucus organized, and they did well. They got their people there. That's what caucuses are supposed to do. But if you are one of those people who were part of the moderate takeover, with less than 350 people total at the convention, and you're now complaining, no, baby. No, doll baby. You keep it up, and I will be calling you out, because I don't like hypocrisy. We had a nearly full convention this time. It was completely fair and square. Very arguably, Portland wasn't. But I wasn't there for that time, and I don't believe in going back and trying to rewrite history when I wasn't even there. But I have proof, as I told you, that voting records were screwed up that convention, and I do believe enough to change the results. However, you can't do anything about that 16 years after the fact. It's just an interesting historical oddity. But I tracked down and interviewed people who were on record as voting yes to delete the platform, and they would swear on everything that is valuable to them that they voted no. Do I think there was hanky-panky? No. I think things get confusing. If you saw the spreadsheets that I put up before, they were so tiny and the lines were so close together, tellers could have just messed up. Things happen. But don't go complaining if you were one of those about 2022. Because there wasn't secret ballots then. I know who you are. And all power to you for succeeding in 2006. Just don't complain when someone else does it better. Goose and ganders. Oh, I swallowed my rum down my air pipe. Give me a moment. So that's the backdrop. Again, this issue came out leading up to the convention, so they didn't yet know what would happen at the 74 convention. More backdrop for people. I'll stick up, where's this side, I guess. After the show is over, I'll put a card up there so you could go watch another episode that's called Libertarian Party, Anarchists Welcome Since 1974. We're heading into that period of time that changed the direction of the party. In what way? In 1972, the Libertarian Party was explicitly a minarchist party. For those of you who don't know the definitions, most of you do, but I have some listeners who don't. A minarchist believes in a very, very, very limited government. Less even than a classical liberal. Which is why I say we've never been a classical liberal party. Classical liberals have always been welcome. But we go further than classical liberalism and always have. So don't complain if you're a classical liberal and we go further. That's part of the agreement when you came into this club. You're welcome, but know what you're getting into. I always believe in knowing what you're getting into. So minarchists believe that the functions of government should be limited to Oh my God, you know, we're probably going to when is the first? Like, we're probably going to do a history show every day about this period of history. So minarchists believe that the function of government is limited to military, police, and courts. That's it. Nothing else. Literally nothing else. And those functions should be voluntarily funded. People who act like the difference between anarchists and minarchists is taxation don't know what they're talking about. At least not in the Libertarian Party. Because the founders of the party were opposed to taxation, but most of them were minarchists. The difference in a Libertarian Party context between minarchists and anarchists is whether or not there is a monopoly on the military, courts, and police. That is it. That's the only difference. The differences between us are so tiny. Thank you, Tom Schmitz, and thank you, Nate D. Now, that might not be true in the broader libertarian movement, but in the Libertarian Party, that's the only difference between us. I'm an anarchist, quite obviously. But I don't sweat this because the difference is so minor. And to be honest with you, I believe if we achieved a minarchy, anarchy would spring up automatically. Either that or we'd turn totalitarian again. One or the other directions. But it's not something I really argue about very much. I've done a couple shows. I'll put another show card up here. I hope my minarchist friends will listen to it with an open heart. But if you end up not agreeing, that's fine. But I'll put a show card up on my series. That's why I'm an anarchist and why you should be one too. But cool beans if not. Our differences are so tiny, which is why I find the debate kind of stupid. We are so far from that. To argue about the monopoly on force, and Libertarian 2A asking about, is it true we're only 3 meals from anarchy? Probably in the bad sense of the term anarchy, not in the political science context that I'm speaking of. If you mean it in the sense of chaos, yeah, we probably are. But that's not what I mean when I say anarchy. When I say anarchy, I mean all human interactions, including government, are voluntary. And I actually believe the Declaration of Independence leads to anarchy because it says that the governed are only governed by their consent. And I can tell you one thing, and we're going to get into this a lot on Patreon only. Become a patron if you want to hear this discussion. If you believe that, Libertarian 2A, you should be an anarchist. Because let me tell you right now, as an anarchist, I'm in this governmental system. I don't consent. I don't consent. I'm forced into it. I don't consent whatsoever. I don't consent to the government having a monopoly on rights protection. That's forced on me. I don't consent. And people who grok that difference generally end up becoming anarchists, even if you don't think it's possible. Anarchy has nothing to do with what's possible. It's an ethical normative position rather than a statement on what is possible. Okay, now we're going to get into the issue. I'll stick up in the cards, the more philosophical shows I did on this. So here we go. LP News, May, June. And it seems to have really expanded out the camera, didn't it? All right, make sure I'm all put together here. I'm glad I'm wearing pants because sometimes I stream without pants on. Oh, yeah, I know that was probably TMI. I want to zoom in a little, though. I don't like this wide screen. So let me pull up my camera effects. Just give me 1 sec. Zoom and pan. Much better. Much better. Okay. And I'm going to need to put on my old lady glasses, and we're just going to start from the beginning. You can see the headline, and you notice up at the top, pants are overrated, Mr. Universe. It's absolutely true. But that's why you normally notice I stream from here up. Unlike the news anchors who have the nice suit on, but like they're wearing their underwear underneath. Yeah, but I am wearing pants today. 300, not wearing shoes though. 300 expected in Dallas, June 12th through 16th. So this would have been, a couple of weeks ago, anniversary-wise. For third, I thought it was the second national convention. I forgot there was a convention in 73. Interesting. See, I like when I get corrected. So even though, I do know a lot about history, I'm constantly corrected. There's a lot I don't know. And I know why I thought 74 was the second convention, because of the whole Dallas Accord thing. And I'll probably do another show specifically on the Dallas Accord. Even though I've done this show a million times, there's new listeners and people may have questions. I could refer you to an old show, but you can't interact with me live. So I like rehashing very foundational information. And yes, news anchors do that. It's very hot under those lights. So a lot of times they're not wearing dress clothes underneath. They might be wearing little short shorts or something. This is some good rum. So 300 expected in Dallas, June 12th through 16th for third national convention. I need to pull. I'm sorry, I'm going to be looking a lot over here because I don't have my little piece of paper. Maybe I'll stick this right here, so I might be looking down a little bit. I'll try not too much. You notice up at the top, we go through these in excruciating detail. We examine every bit of these newsletters. If you haven't been to one of these shows before, because it's been a while, we examine history by going back however many years. So it's 2022, so back to 74. How many years? And we're going to progress forward through history. All right. So special 8-page convention issues. So this is a big one. Oh, hold on. It's probably far enough along that I won't get demonetized. It's a big one.
That's what she said.
Okay. And you see the address is still back in Aurora. So it moved from David Nolan's home in Westminster, Colorado to a P.O. box in Aurora. The price is the same. It's LP News number 20. This is why this is episode 20. May, June 74. Continued episodes on the same issue will be 20A, 20B, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's just go to this first thing, since I gave you the whole lead up to the convention. This isn't enough to... Well, it might be enough at the end to make me drunk. I have been on some drunk streams. This isn't enough. When I have those big glasses, when I'm dealing with the neoliberal show, yeah. But yeah, this is it. This is it. So you might have a sober one next. I need to go buy some sangria. I'm actually a bigger sangria fan than a rum fan because it's not as strong and it's so tasty. Anyway, so... Oh, I thought it was under 100. It says approximately 300 delegates. So here's what's funny. The direction of the party was changed in 2006, with attendance higher than that in 1974. And you're complaining to me about 2022? Get out of here. Ugh.
Objection, speculative.
Yeah, fishy man. But I don't know if that's how many attended. This is how many they expected. So approximately 300 delegates, alternates, and observers are expected to converge on Dallas, Texas, the second week in June, to participate in the third annual LP convention. Chief purposes of the get-together will be the drafting of a new national party platform for 74-75 and the election of new LP officers. Other highlights will include speeches by over a dozen named speakers and a number of social events sponsored by the Texas Libertarian Party, which is hosting the convention. We already did a whole show on why state parties used to be called, in the format, State Libertarian Party. So Colorado Libertarian Party, Texas Libertarian Party. And that at some point in our history, which we'll discover, they all changed, except for about 6 states, to the format Libertarian Party of X. Libertarian Party of Texas, Libertarian Party of Colorado, and so forth. Some of the states that haven't changed is Arizona, which is still Arizona Libertarian Party, Missouri, which is still Missouri Libertarian Party. Alaska kind of flip-flops back and forth. Utah, God, I have all this trivia in my head. Anyway, now, was the Dallas Accord unexpected? Yes and no. In 72, when they adopted the Statement of Principles, they knew they were going to revisit it in 74. Michael B., that's a weird anomaly with Massachusetts. It's because of their weird law. When they are a recognized party, they're the Libertarian Party of Massachusetts, not Massachusetts Libertarian Party. So the whole Libertarian Association of Massachusetts thing is this weird anomaly when they're not ballot recognized. It's a different situation than what we're talking about here. So they did expect that something was going to happen surrounding the statement of principles in 74. Did they know what would happen? No. I don't know how organized that effort was. I have a feeling it was pretty organized. Rothbard was involved. Committee hearings will begin on, it's funny how they call them hearings rather than meetings. Hearings sound so like penal. AL. Get your mind out of the gutter. I meant like punishment way, you know?
Unauthorized recording.
Nope, I've authorized this recording, Mr. Sarwark. So committee hearings will begin Wednesday, June 12th at 9 a.m. and will continue throughout the day and evening. Anyone wishing to testify, oh my God, that sounds so awful. Testify before one of the three committees, platform, credentials, and constitution/rules. God, we're going to stop every 2 seconds. This is like so rich in history. The platform committee and what would now be the bylaws committee, we'll get into that in a minute, and credentials as a matter of fact, they didn't really meet substantially prior to the convention. So the platform committee report, for instance, it was created and all the proposals were adopted on the day or two just prior to convention. Because think about it, they didn't have internet. They didn't have a way to really electronically meet. Now, they may have met one or two times as years went by prior to convention personally, but that would require them all traveling to a certain location. So it used to be in the past that these reports were done the day or two prior to convention, and you could go and participate in basically all of the deliberations of these committees. Now, you noticed the committee was called Constitution/Rules. Yes, the National Party used to have a constitution and bylaws, like some state parties still do. And you shouldn't, by the way. I'm going to do a show on that, on why, if you still have a constitution and bylaws, get with the times, people. Colorado finally combined their documents in 2021, and we couldn't be frickin' happier. But it's a very tedious, cautious, dangerous process to do. So I'd like to talk to you guys about that. I don't like the way that hair thing looked. All right, so we used to have a constitution. Maybe we'll do a history show going through the 1974 Constitution and the 1974 bylaws. They were combined in 1980. So the National Party was very much ahead of the curve in combining these two documents. A change was made in 1980. We don't have convention minutes for 80. If anyone in my audience was at the 1980 convention and you remember it, I've got some questions for you, because I think I found another historical anomaly. Of course, we can't do anything about it this far in the future, but I have a feeling even something I would support was done by accident in 1980. Again, history does not care about my feelings either. All right, so Constitution and Rules should contact the chairman of that committee in advance for an appointment. Ooh, an appointment to testify. Fancy. Otherwise, hearings will be on a first-come, first-served basis. And check this out. Oh, this is different. You do not have to be a delegate or even an LP member to testify before a committee. Now, these committee meetings are really only open to party members. We don't really police that much, but you don't really have a right to be heard if you're not an LP member. I wonder when that changed. And for Ryan, because he liked it.
Unauthorized recording.
And in tribute.
No, you look like an idiot.
Yeah, you do. When you fake an assault, you kind of look like an idiot. Speaking of eerily similar names, On Wednesday evening, the Institute for Libertarian Studies, not to be confused with another institute, will present the first of 3 programs on American individualism. Scheduled speakers are Henry Regnery, W.H. Hutt, and Dean Russell. A second ILS program will be held Thursday morning. While the convention committees are in closed session, really, platform committee went into closed session? Ew, gross. Scheduled speakers are James J. Martin and Edmund Oppitz. Now notice, if it was Wednesday, there would be programs while convention committees are in closed session. That means Tuesday was the day you could testify. Conventions generally were over the weekend or starting on Thursday. Now imagine how long these conventions were. Our conventions used to be like 5 days. We complain about 3 right now, sometimes with a 4th day of education. This is why we don't get through business anymore. We used to make it like a whole week-long thing. You were gone for a week. You were gone Monday through Monday. The first, here it is. I should have read ahead. You can tell I don't read ahead because I just start talking. The first business session of the convention will begin at 2 p.m. on Thursday, the 13th. The convention keynote will be delivered by Roger Leah McBride, who was the faithless elector from Virginia, who will be introduced by Willis E. Stone, the national chairman of the Liberty Amendment Committee. After McBride's speech, there will be a treasurer's report, adoption of temporary rules. We did not have permanent convention rules then. I don't know when that happened. And the report of the Credentials Committee. Hopefully it wasn't as much of a nightmare as it's been the past couple of years. Thursday evening, there will be a reception for John Hospers and Tony Nathan, and the third ILS program featuring libertarian economist Hans Seinholz. Friday morning, there will be a breakfast seminar featuring Fran Youngstein and Gary Greenberg. Those are both candidates from New York. I believe Fran Youngstein was a candidate for New York mayor, and Gary Greenberg was for some state legislative position, if I remember correctly. The convention will then meet for business again. 3 sessions are scheduled for Friday. The first to discuss and vote on the report of the Constitution, Bylaws, and Rules Committee. Notice in the top of the second column, bylaws was hyphenated. That used to be the style. Now it's all one word. I'm into language, as you know. And the other 2 for discussion and voting on the report of the Platform Committee. It's funny how platform still was given such an emphasis. I think that's because they knew what was going to happen with the statement of principles. Not what was going to happen. They knew there was going to be a big discussion on the statement of principles. So that's why there was 2 sessions. By the way, everyone, and maybe we'll listen to this. It will be really painful, but I have a lot of the recordings from the 74 convention. Unfortunately, the tape that contained the Dallas Accord discussions is lost. I got these recordings from D. Frank Robinson, who was one of the party founders. He had suffered through multiple house relocations. These reel-to-reel tapes were kept in his basement, and he had a house fire. So the fact that we have any of them is miraculous, but I am heartbroken that the debate that would have included the Dallas Accord is missing. But we also have recordings of the 72 convention. One day we might do an all-day, let's get super drunk and listen to really crappy old reel-to-reel converted recordings. Tell me if that sounds fun to you. It sounds fun to me. Might not sound fun to anyone else. You might really need to drink. Okay, on Saturday the 15th, events will begin again with a breakfast program. This one will feature a speech on First Amendment rights by Tony Nathan, LP vice presidential candidate in 1972. First woman to ever receive an electoral college vote. Also, just in keeping with history today, and I'll briefly tell you my opinion on it. I'm going to get some boo hisses from the audience, I'm sure. When the LP was first formed, abortion was illegal in most states. 1972, because the party was formed in 71, 72 is when Roe versus Wade was passed. Now we are seeing Roe versus Wade be overturned. Now here is where I'm going to get some boo hisses from the audience. While I do think it was a really poorly written legal decision, I'm not celebrating the overturning of Roe versus Wade, even though I am pro-life. I do a whole show on this earlier. Maybe I'll put that up in the show notes. Even though in that show I said Roe versus Wade will never be overturned. Yeah, egg on my face. But I do talk about in that show why if Roe versus Wade was overturned, it would be one of the worst things to ever happen to the pro-life movement. And I still believe that. This country is not ready for that. Politics is a lagging indicator of social change that has already happened. And socially, people are not ready for abortion prohibition. And if they were ready for it, you wouldn't need the government to do it. Culture would take care of it. I'm not about laws. I wasn't in favor of deleting the abortion plank. I thought our statement that government should stay out of it should have stayed in the platform. I know a lot of my listeners do not agree with me, but I'm a Mises Caucus person who did not agree with the deletion of the abortion plank. Watch the video. I didn't vote for it. I threw out all of my tokens. Though I am pro-life, personally, I don't believe in government enforcement of it. And I have a whole show on that. Again, I'll put a show. I'm going to have to do a lot of cards for this show, apparently. Okay. This will be followed by a morning business session. I guess this is on Saturday. To conclude business. So business was Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. To conclude discussion and vote on where I lost my spot here. We'll just and vote on the platform committee report and an afternoon session at which new national officers and executive committee members will be elected. I see Caleb Bolander agrees with me though, and he might be surprised. I changed my position on this very quietly a few years ago. I just didn't see a need to make a big deal out of it, but now I started throwing out my tokens at the 2020 convention. I didn't vote for the deletion of the abortion plank then either, by the way. Okay, the LNC used to be called the Executive Committee. So this is talking about LNC elections. So new national officers and Executive Committee, meaning LNC, would be elected on that Saturday. The grand finale will take place Saturday evening, a banquet featuring the new LP officers with speeches by Willis Stone, who's from the Liberty Amendment Committee, and John Hospers. By the way, we're only going to cover this first page tonight because there was so much background to cover. We'll be talking a little bit about abortion if you stay tuned for my next show tonight. I am going to do an LNC recap tonight, even though I will be through this rum and probably into some brandy. But we'll have some fun. But the abortion issue will come up in the next show tonight. So if you're interested in discussing that with me, please stay tuned for that because that's not really on point here. It was more of a historical point here. Okay, on Sunday the 16th, there will be a meeting of the new Executive Committee, meeting LNC, and this will be open to observers. I wonder when the LNC was changed to that name. I wonder if it was when the LP was officially incorporated, which didn't happen until, I think, 1991. I might not have that name right. I might be thinking of when we trademarked the name Libertarian Party. Throughout the entire convention, there will be other events taking place. By the way, I'm a heretic when it comes to this. I don't believe in that. Whenever I organize a convention, if I have the permission to do so from whoever the governing board is, I do not believe in other events competing with business. The purpose of a convention, don't clutch your pearls, is to get business done. The other stuff is foo-foo. It's nice to have, but it's not necessary to have, and it should never compete with convention business. I know other people don't agree with me. I'm a heretic. But guess what? I helped organize the last Colorado convention, which was profitable and never had anything competing with business. You don't like bylaws. You hush your mouth. You naughty, naughty man. Okay. Throughout the entire convention, there will be other events taking place, in addition to those summarized above. Numerous individuals and groups will be making presentations, and there will be an exhibits room filled with all kinds of libertarian material. God, I would love to have seen that. Oh, man, I would love to see pictures of that. In addition, we have been informed there will be a reception held by New Libertarian Notes, the noted quote-unquote Libertarian Fringe publication, on Thursday evening. Okay, I'm going to need to find copies of this Fringe publication. It's probably right up my alley. Pardon me. I think I need to wash down that cough with some rum. We got one paragraph left for more super chats to keep me in rum. And actually, more importantly, to get me to Alexandria because right now, I'm not sure. I mean, I'll be there. Like, if I had to walk, I would be there. But $1,000 trip isn't really what I was anticipating this time. But maybe I'll have a job next week. Patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. Okay. All events will take place at the Ramada Inn. I did not know where this took place. Now we know. In Irving, Texas, suburb of Dallas. So kind of like we call it the Reno Reset, even though it was in Sparks, Nevada, but Sparks is a suburb of Reno. The Dallas Accord was really the Irving Accord, with Irving being a suburb of Dallas. Registration fee for the convention, check this out, is $10. That was probably a lot of money in 74. But can you imagine with registration? Oh, my Lord. But it covered business. So there was a floor fee in 74. Business wasn't free. Admission to the ILS programs and the social events will be offered in various packages, ranging in price from $15 to $40. All inquiries regarding schedules, prices, and accommodations should be sent to the Convention Arrangements Chairman, Guy Story Brown, and then it gives his address. So the Convention Oversight Committee back then was called the Convention Arrangements Committee. And then it gives you some statistics here. The Platform Committee Chair was Ed Clark, who is a later presidential candidate, I think in 1980. And he was also a chairman of the party at some point. The Credentials Committee Chair was Georgiana Trammell. I don't know if she was National Secretary at this point, but Georgiana Trammell was a National Secretary. And then the Constitution and Rules Committee Chairman is William Westmiller. Okay, that's going to be it for tonight. We covered a lot. I'm going to go back here so I can get comments back up. There's another show I need to do. I want to keep announcing this ahead of time because it's not something I have an urgency to do, but I want people to know this, and perhaps they can change my mind back. I really, really struggled with what I'm going to say next because this has been a principled position of mine for a long time. But so was deleting the abortion plank, which I did change my mind on. I change my mind on a lot of things frequently. I don't get credit for that a lot, but I do. I've actually very recently changed my mind on whether or not LNC members should have term limits. And I'm deciding whether I'm voluntarily term limiting at 3 terms. Now, I think I'm going to do that anyway, whether or not it's a principled position, because I'm tired and my husband wants time with me. But I've backed away now from that position that this should be in our bylaws. I'll explain why. And I was confronted with this past convention because there was a different proposal that made me rethink my entire position. There was a proposal to move at-large elections prior to officer elections in order to effectively prohibit waterfall elections. Waterfall elections is something I'm also not a fan of. But when I was faced with a change to actually prohibit it, it made me really rethink how artificially should we, in a private organization, not public office. I'm still a huge believer in term limits for public office because no one has a right to hold public office. Government is coercion. And if you're wondering, because I'm sure some people here are going to start all kinds of rumors. No, I'm not a drug user. I donate plasma. I actually get paid for it. That's part of the way I raise funds while I'm unemployed. But I did it today. The needle, if you've ever seen a plasma donation needle, they killed me with that frickin' needle today. I've got another donation scheduled for Tuesday. I think they're going to have to use this arm. Anyway, in case anyone noticed that, I'm not going to have the rumor, oh, she's a junkie. I don't have enough money to be a junkie, okay? If I had enough money to be a junkie, I wouldn't be like constantly grifting for super chats. Unless I was grifting for my fix, I guess, but no. I'm grifting for food. But anyway, I'm going to do a whole show on why I changed my position on that for internal office. It was a very difficult thing to change. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to run again, okay? I don't want people to think this is a prelude to that. What it means is it's not off the table. However, that's a whole other thing. I can tell you right now, my intentions are not to run again. But I could change my mind. And when I say run again, I mean for secretary. I probably will run again, but for a different position on the LNC. But maybe I will run again for secretary. That was something I said I would not do. So for me to back off from something I said I would not do, really, I owe you guys an explanation. But that doesn't mean I'm going to. My intentions right now are not to be honest with you. Secretary is a lot of work. Even though I did have an enforced, how long? 9-month vacation, thanks to the corrupt former LNC. However, I wanted to let you know why I've changed my position on that. I do think most people are naturally term limited 3. One of the exceptions to that was Tim Hagen. I think he served for 5 terms. But like Nick Sarwark served for 3, 3 kind of seems to be the natural limit. People get burnt out or people get tired of them. I'm going to look in history. I want to look at our officers and see the longest term. I think 3 has been the longest term. Have we ever had a chair that served 4 terms? I don't think we have. And I don't know about other officers. I think Tim Hagen might be the record holder for number of terms in one seat. Now, we're not talking about switching seats, because if we were, Tim would even more so be, because Tim has been an at-large, I believe, before. I'm not sure about that, but I think he was. But anyway, that will be a whole other show, but I'm trying to announce this ahead of time so people, because I might not get to do the show because it's not really that high on my radar till a year from now, and I don't want people to think I'm doing the show as some kind of excuse to set myself up to rerun, because right now that's not my intentions. I don't think that far ahead. You want to know how far I think ahead? I've got convention minutes to do. That's how far I think ahead. Okay, that's it for the show right now. I'm going to do, where'd I put my computer? It's right here. Derp. Maybe I am having a little bit too much rum. I'm going to do a quick graphic for the next show, which will be an LNC update. It might not be till 9:45 or 10 o'clock Mountain Time. It's going to be a quick update and tutorial, and we can talk about abortion. It is Friday night, so if that's something you would like to do, get back with me in a little bit. I do want to eat a little bit of dinner. I haven't eaten dinner yet. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for this evening and hanging out with me.
take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians, or choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business.